Chris, Oliver from Norway's question. What do you think about using remarketing lists on search campaigns? Should I use target rather than observation? Okay. A little bit of a twist versus last question. Last question was similar to possibly a remarketing list.
Yeah.
This time we're actually talking about a hardcore real remarketing list.
Right.
Layering it on a search campaign. I'm going to ask you two questions here, Chris. Number one, do you do that? Do you layer it on as an audience? And then if you do you ever do targeting or observation?
Yes, I do. And I'm totally open to, I agree with Oliver, to use remarketing lists on search campaigns. So you can add it as an observation or add it as targeted. Now, if you add it as targeted, you've effectively created a search remarketing campaign, so you'll get very, very little traffic compared to not having it. So my suggestion for 90% of the cases is you have a remarketing list added as an observation targeting on top of your search with possibly a bid adjustment so that you don't limit your targeting. But absolutely, seems like there you go. There's a coin flip that's a win-win on both sides. I'm okay with that.
I love what they've done with audiences and being able to layer on audiences very simply in a search campaign, because back in the day there was remarketing list for search ads, RLSA or something like that, and it was somewhat complicated to set up, I believe.
Yeah.
And I'd love the way you can just layer on a remarketing list. I probably don't do it enough. It's probably something I should do more of. Chris, I remember years and years ago, you had this RLSA remarketing list on search ads strategy where you would run search ads specifically only to that remarketing audience, which means you would set up a campaign in this day and age, search campaign, target the remarketing list as the audience, and they're the only ones who can see it. And then you would run looser and broader keywords because you know that audience is already qualified. So I remember the example you gave. It was about a door company. Do you still have that client?
No.
5-6 years later. Okay.
No.
Do you remember that client?
I remember the podcast because I remember how much you loved that idea, and I think that's where it might have even started the great Chris Schaefer thing, because you were like, that is a genius idea. That was a long time ago, but yeah, it's still great. It still works. It's still great. I don't use it as much because unless I have large remarketing lists. I like it if I have like thousands of people on it, then okay. If I have 200, I'm not going to mess with it. It's not worth it,
You know, buddy, it depends on the industry, because what I'm thinking is, well, what's one way to make your remarketing list larger? You extend the time period, and you can go up to, I think, like 540 days maybe.
That's
which
correct.
Is, I think, a year and a half or something like that.
It's over a year.
Yeah, I think it's a year and a half. But I'm thinking about like a payroll software company, and let's say someone's on your website 1 year, almost a year and a half ago. Or say they go to your website for the next 18 months, as long as they're searching about payroll, I think it's interesting to kind of hit them with a search ad for a very low bid or whatever, because maybe if they didn't go with you, maybe they're not happy with who they went for, assuming you can do something so you don't just show up on your own previous customers. But there's a lot of interesting things you can do. It all starts with layering on your remarketing list onto a search campaign, observing the data at first and seeing how it does. And then you can do bid adjustments. You can do targeting. You can do a second campaign where you target it. And you like it. You like playing around with remarketing campaigns. I do it search.
And I can tell you I get conversions from it, and it broad keywords. It works. I have a client I'm thinking of right now that I do that with, and it brings in leads. It's not like a game changer, but it's a great supplement